You think that mountain of canned food and blankets is your ticket to safety when a blizzard hits? It might get you through a day, sure, but when the power grid gives up and the temperature dives, those common preps are practically useless. The hard truth is, what most people call being prepared is just scratching the surface. Real survival in a nasty winter storm comes down to a few advanced tools that 99% of preppers don't even have on their radar. In this video, I'm pulling back the curtain on the 11 items that will separate the survivors from the statistics. And number 1 might just shock you. We've all seen it. The grocery store shelves stripped bare, the crazy lines for gas, that last-minute panic as a winter storm barrels in. If you're watching this, you're probably one of the smart ones who gets ready ahead of time. You've got your food, your water, your flashlights. You followed the basic checklist, and you're feeling pretty secure. But let me ask you a tough question. What's your plan when the basics just aren't enough? What's the move when the power isn't out for 6 hours, but for 6 days, or for some people, as long as 16 days? Like we saw in the brutal 2021 Texas ice storm. What happens when the very air inside your sealed-up home turns against you? The difference between getting through it and becoming another sad story isn't about how many cans of chili you have. It's about seeing the next 2 or 3 things that are going to fail, the things most people never think about. It's about having the right tool for a problem that 99% of people don't even know is coming. Today, we're skipping the beginner's class. We're going straight to the advanced course in winter survival. These aren't just gadgets. These are life-saving tools for the most critical problems you'll face when a winter storm stops being an inconvenience and starts being a real-deal survival situation. Let's get to it. Number 1, the first line of defense you're missing. The number 1 advanced item most preppers completely overlook is quiet, simple, and absolutely non-negotiable. It's not a weapon. It's not a fancy generator. It is a battery-powered carbon monoxide detector. I can hear some of you now. I have smoke detectors. My CO detectors are hardwired. And that's exactly the kind of thinking that makes this so dangerous. Your hardwired detectors are worthless the second the grid goes down. A smoke detector is critical, but it's looking for fire. It will stay dead silent while a colorless, odorless gas fills your home and quietly puts your family to sleep for good. Here's the problem. During a big winter storm, your risk of CO poisoning goes through the roof. The power's out. It's getting dangerously cold. So you start firing up alternative heat sources. You break out the propane mister heater. You light up a kerosene heater. Maybe you're running a generator outside, but you put it a little too close to a window. According to the CDC, over 400 people die every year from unintentional CO poisoning in the U.S. And these numbers spike when winter storms hit. It's called the silent killer for a reason. There's no warning. The first symptoms, headache, dizziness, nausea, are easy to blow off as the flu. By the time you figure out what's really going on, you might not have the brain power or the strength to save yourself. This is why a simple, dedicated, battery-powered CO detector is a total game changer. It's not a good idea. It's a vital piece of safety gear. When you seal up a room to stay warm and fire up an indoor safe heater, you've created a little bubble. That bubble needs a sentry. A battery-powered unit is your 24/7 guard, watching over the air you breathe when all your normal systems are down. All it needs is a fresh set of batteries. And here's the pro tip, so listen up. Don't just stick it on the ceiling like a smoke detector. While CO is slightly lighter than air, it mixes pretty evenly throughout a room. For the best protection in a survival scenario, most manufacturers and the EPA suggest placing the detector on a wall about 5 feet from the floor. That's roughly breathing height near where your family is sleeping. You're most vulnerable when you're asleep and won't notice the early symptoms. An alarm blaring next to your head is the surest way to wake you up. Get a model with a digital display. It lets you monitor even low levels of CO and get some fresh air in the room long before it hits a dangerous, alarm-triggering level. This isn't just a prep. It's a piece of life insurance you can't afford to skip. Number 2. The water solution for a frozen world. Next up, we're tackling a problem that gets way harder in the cold. Getting enough safe drinking water. Your advanced item is a high-capacity, gravity-fed, or pump-based water purification system. The standard prepper move is to store water. You've got cases of bottles, a few big jugs, and maybe a life straw in your go bag. For a 72-hour power outage, that's great. But we're planning for a long, drawn-out, grid-down winter mess. Sooner or later, your stored water will run out. What then? In a winter storm, your options get ugly fast. Your pipes could be frozen solid. The city water might be contaminated or shut off completely. The only water source available might be piled up outside your door. Snow and ice. The usual advice is melt it and boil it. Okay, let's really think about that. Have you ever actually tried to melt enough snow to give a family of 4 the recommended gallon of water per person per day? It takes a ridiculous amount of snow, and more importantly, a ridiculous amount of fuel to bring it all to a rolling boil. If you're counting on small propane canisters or a limited woodpile, you'll burn through your heating and cooking fuel just to make water. It's a losing game. This is where a real filtration system becomes your lifeline. A unit like a Sawyer squeeze, a Katadyn gravity filter, or an MSR pump filter is on a whole different level than a simple survival straw. These are built to process gallons of water, not just sips. A gravity-fed system is perfect for a winter shelter in place. You can melt a big batch of snow, just melt it, no need to boil, hang up the reservoir, and let gravity do the work. It silently and efficiently filters out 99.9999% of bacteria and protozoa, giving you clean, safe water without using up your precious fuel. The pro tip here is absolutely critical for winter. You have to keep your filter from freezing. After you use it, you must get as much water out of it as you can. And then, the most important part, keep it in an inside pocket of your coat or tuck it into your sleeping bag with you at night. If water freezes inside the filter's hollow fibers, the ice crystals will expand and shred the filter from the inside. It will be completely ruined, and you won't even know it. Water will still flow through, but it won't be filtering anything. So, treat your filter like it's fragile and essential, because it is. Keep it warm, and it will keep you alive long after the bottled water is gone. Number 3. Your silent, personal power plant. This third item gets to the heart of almost every modern disaster: losing electricity. The advanced play here isn't a gas generator. It's a solar-powered generator, specifically one with a cold-weather-rated battery. A lot of preppers have a power plan, and it's usually a loud, smelly gasoline generator. That's better than nothing, but it has huge drawbacks in a winter storm. First, fuel. You need a big, carefully rotated stash of stabilized gas, which is a pain to manage. Second, the noise. A loud generator screams, "I have power," to the entire neighborhood, making you a target. And third, the carbon monoxide risk. People die every single year running generators too close to their homes, and in the stress of a storm, it's an easy mistake to make. A solar generator, which is really a portable power station with solar panels, solves all those problems. It's silent, it's fumeless, and its fuel source, the sun, gets delivered for free every morning. Even on cloudy winter days, modern panels will still pull in a charge. It won't be a fast charge, but it'll be enough to top off your critical gear. We're not talking about running your whole house. We're talking survival power for lights, phones, radios, and crucial medical equipment like a CPAP machine. Now, the advanced part isn't just buying any solar generator. It's getting the right tech for winter. Most power stations use lithium-ion batteries, and they hate the cold. Trying to charge a frozen lithium battery isn't just slow. It can permanently damage it. That's why you need to look for units built for the cold. High-end models from companies like EcoFlow or GoalZero have smart features like built-in battery heaters or management systems that allow charging in sub-freezing temperatures. The battery type matters too. Li-FePO4 batteries generally handle cold better and last way longer than standard lithium-ion batteries. The pro tip for using a solar generator in winter is to create a power differential. You have to keep the power station itself inside where it's warm. The battery needs to stay out of the freezing cold. This means you need solar panel extension cables running from the panels outside, through a window or wall, to the power station inside. Figure out the logistics before a storm hits. How will you run the cable? How will you seal that opening to keep the heat in? A little planning turns this from a nice gadget into a tough, all-season power source that gives you a level of independence a gas generator just can't touch. Number 4. The power to see the invisible. This next item feels like something out of a spy movie, but it's so incredibly useful in a winter survival situation that it absolutely earns its spot on this list. Item number 4 is a handheld or smartphone-attached thermal imaging camera. This is a piece of gear 99.9% of preppers will dismiss as an expensive toy. They're dead wrong. When you're fighting the cold, your biggest enemy is heat loss. And heat loss is invisible. You can feel a draft, but you can't see the whole picture of how your precious, life-sustaining warmth is bleeding out of your shelter. A thermal camera lets you see the world in temperatures. Think about it. You're in a war against the cold. You're generating a limited amount of heat from your body, a heater, or a fire. The freezing outside world is constantly trying to steal it. Your shelter is your armor, but that armor has cracks, gaps under doors, bad window seals, uninsulated walls. A thermal camera shows you every single one of those weak spots instantly. You can scan a room and see exactly where the cold is sneaking in. That window frame that looks fine might be glowing dark blue on the thermal screen, showing you a failed seal. You can see the heat pouring right out of an unused chimney. This lets you go from being a victim of the cold to an efficient defender of your warmth. You're not just guessing where to stuff a blanket anymore. You're using your limited resources with precision, guided by a tool that sees what your eyes can't. This thermal hardening of your shelter can slash your fuel use and make you way more comfortable and safe. You can make your fuel last twice as long just by plugging the leaks you can now see, and its uses go way beyond that. In a whiteout blizzard, a thermal camera can be a search and rescue tool. It can help you find a family member or a pet that got lost in the snow. A warm body will stick out against a frozen landscape. It's also a diagnostic tool. Scan your electronics for hot spots that could mean a failure is coming. Check your wood stove flue for dangerous creosote buildup. The pro tip here is to buy this tool and learn how to use it before you need it. Prices have dropped a lot, and you can get great models from companies like FLIR or Seek Thermal that plug right into your phone. Spend an afternoon walking around your house with it. You'll be blown away by what you find. Find those energy leaks now, when you can fix them with a trip to the hardware store, not when you're trying to plug a hole with a t-shirt in the middle of a blizzard. It's an almost unfair advantage against the cold. Number 5. The ultimate morale and hygiene multiplier. When you're days deep into a grid-down winter crisis, the physical challenges are huge, but the mental toll can be just as bad. Feeling cold, dirty, and miserable can crush your will to survive. Our 5th advanced item fights this head-on. A portable, on-demand propane water heater. Most preppers are focused on the bare essentials: heat, drinking water, food. Softer needs like hygiene get pushed way down the list. The solution is usually a pack of baby wipes. That's okay for a day or two, but not being able to properly wash yourself, your clothes, or your dishes in a long-term crisis isn't just about comfort. It's a major threat to your health and morale. And trying to heat enough water on a tiny camp stove for a real wash is, like melting snow, a terrible use of fuel. A portable water heater, like the popular ones from EcoTemp or Mr. Heater, is a massive upgrade. These things use a standard propane tank, the same kind you use for a grill, to give you an almost instant, continuous supply of hot water. And they are incredibly efficient. Hook up a propane tank and a water source, like a 5-gallon jug with a small 12-volt pump, and you've got hot water with the turn of a knob. You cannot overestimate the impact of this. Picture this. It's day 10 of a power outage. It's 5 degrees outside. You haven't showered in over a week. You feel disgusting, you're chilled to the bone, and your spirits have hit rock bottom. Now, imagine being able to take a hot shower. The psychological boost from that one act is off the charts. It's a moment of humanity and normalcy in the middle of total chaos. It washes away the dirt, but it also washes away a huge amount of stress. A person who feels clean thinks clearer and is a much better survivor. And beyond morale, there are huge health benefits. Being able to wash hands with hot water and soap cuts down the risk of getting sick, which can be a disaster in a survival situation. You can properly sanitize your dishes and prevent cross-contamination. You can even wash a few essential pieces of clothing. Here's the absolutely critical pro tip. You have to operate these things with safety as your number one priority. Almost all of them are designed for outdoor use only because they produce carbon monoxide. You need to set up a sheltered hygiene station outside. Never, ever, run one of these inside your sealed living space. Plan ahead. Get the right hoses, a 12-volt pump, and a dedicated propane tank ready to go. A portable shower tent gives you privacy and some shelter from the wind. This simple tool can become a complete hygiene system that will be worth its weight in gold. Number 6. Your voice in the silent void. A winter storm doesn't just bring cold, it brings isolation. When the power goes, the cell towers and internet usually go with it. Your smartphone, your main link to the world, becomes a brick. The standard prepper answer is a hand crank weather radio. That's a vital tool for getting information, but it's a one-way street. You can listen, but you can't talk. To be truly prepared, you need a way to send a message out. That's why our sixth item is a two-way emergency communication device, specifically a satellite messenger or a ham radio. Losing communication is terrifying. What if someone gets hurt and you can't call 911? What if you're separated from family and have no way of knowing if they're okay? In that silent void, the ability to transmit a message is power. It's hope. A satellite messenger, like a Garmin InReach or a Zoleo, is probably the most reliable and user-friendly option for most people. These devices don't use cell towers. They talk directly to satellites. As long as you can see the sky, you can send and receive text messages, share your location, and most importantly, hit an SOS button that connects you to a global emergency response center. That one button could be the difference between life and death if you have a medical emergency when no other communication works. The other powerhouse option is ham radio. It takes more work, you need a license and some practice, but it gives you incredible independence. With a simple handheld ham radio, you can talk to other operators in your area, listen in on emergency channels, and hit repeaters that can blast your signal for hundreds of miles. In a true, long-term disaster, the ham radio community will be a critical hub for information and coordination. The pro tip here is that you can't just buy these things and stick them in a drawer. For a satellite messenger, you must have an active subscription plan. It's a paperweight without one. Don't wait for the storm to activate it. Get it set up and test it now. Program your emergency contacts ahead of time. For ham radio, the pro tip is to get your license now. The technician license test is straightforward, and the knowledge you gain is priceless. Then, practice. Join a local radio club. Learn how to actually use your radio so you're not fumbling with it in a panic. A communication tool you don't know how to use is just dead weight. Number 7. Defeating the coldest enemy. When people think about staying warm, they think about blankets and heaters. They almost always forget about the most relentless, heat-sucking monster in any cold environment: the ground. That's why our 7th advanced item is an insulated, high R-value sleeping mat. It all comes down to a law of physics called conduction. When you lie on a cold surface, that surface will constantly pull heat out of your body. A thick sleeping bag is great at fighting heat loss to the air, but it's terrible against conduction. When you lie on it, you crush the insulation underneath you, making it useless. The frozen ground or even a cold floor in your house acts like a thermal vacuum, sucking the warmth right out of you all night long. This is a huge reason why people get hypothermia, even when they're inside and wrapped in blankets. Your basic blue foam camping pad or a cheap air mattress offers almost no protection. An uninsulated air mattress is even worse. The air inside it circulates and can actually make you colder. You need a specialized tool for this job. An insulated sleeping mat is specifically engineered to stop conductive heat loss. The key thing to look for is the R value. R value measures how well the pad resists heat flow. The higher the number, the better it insulates. For summer, an R value of 2 is fine. For real winter survival, you should be looking for a mat with an R value of at least 4 to 5. A pad with an R value of 5 or higher is an even safer bet for extreme cold. It creates a thermal barrier between you and the frozen ground, letting your sleeping bag do its job and keep you warm. It's the difference between shivering all night and getting restful sleep, which is critical for staying sharp in a crisis. Here's the pro tip: layer your sleep system. Don't just rely on a single inflatable pad that could get a hole in it. The bomb-proof setup is a closed-cell foam pad right on the ground, with a high R-value inflatable pad on top. The foam pad adds insulation and protects the inflatable pad from punctures. This combination is warm, tough, and will protect you from the single biggest source of heat loss you'll face. This isn't about camping comfort, it's about surviving a frozen night. Number 8. The untapped power source in your driveway. During a power outage, most people see their car as just a way to get out of town. They're missing the fact that a powerful generator is sitting right there in the driveway. Our 8th advanced item unlocks that power: a high-quality, pure sine wave power inverter. The problem is that your car and your house run on different types of electricity. Your vehicle has a 12-volt DC system. Most of your essential devices, laptops, phone chargers, medical gear, run on 120-volt AC. A power inverter is a brilliant little device that bridges that gap. It connects to your car's battery and converts 12 volts DC into 120 volts AC, letting you run your household gear right from your vehicle. This is a game changer. First, your car's engine is a much more robust and efficient power source than a small portable generator. Second, you can use it quietly. With some heavy-duty extension cords, you can park your car in the driveway and run power into the house, keeping the noise and deadly exhaust fumes safely outside. This is so much better than a gas generator, which people are often tempted to run too close to the house in bad weather. The critical advanced detail here is the type of inverter. You'll see two kinds: modified sine waves and pure sine waves. Cheaper, modified sine wave inverters are okay for simple things like work lights, but they can cause problems with sensitive electronics. Laptops, modern battery chargers, and especially medical equipment like CPAP machines need a clean, stable electrical signal to run safely. A pure sine wave inverter produces power that's just as clean, or even cleaner, than what you get from your wall outlets. For a survival situation where you absolutely need your critical gear to work, spending the extra cash on a pure sine wave inverter is not a luxury, it's a necessity. The pro tip here is twofold. First, know what you need to power and buy an inverter that can handle it. A 400-watt inverter is fine for charging phones, but if you want to run a small microwave, you'll need something 1,000 watts or bigger. Second, you have to manage your car's battery. Don't just run the inverter with the car off, you'll kill the battery and be stranded. The best practice is to start the car every so often and let it run for 30 to 45 minutes to recharge the battery. An even better setup is to install a separate deep cycle battery just for the inverter, isolated from your starter battery. An inverter turns your biggest asset, your vehicle, into a powerful tool for your shelter-in-place plan. Number 9. The unfailing flame. Fire is primal. It's warmth, it's light, it's how you cook food and make water safe. In a winter survival scenario, being able to make a fire, reliably, in the worst possible conditions, is a core skill. That's why our 9th item isn't just a lighter, it's an advanced, redundant, and storm-proof fire-starting kit. The average person's fire kit is a disposable lighter and maybe some paper matches in a junk drawer. That is a total recipe for failure. A regular butane lighter won't work well in freezing temperatures. Matches get wet and become useless. Relying on one fragile tool for something as important as fire is a rookie mistake. The problem is, a winter storm is the perfect combination of bad conditions for making a fire. It's cold, it's windy, and everything is either wet or frozen. You need a system that can punch through those conditions and guarantee a flame. An advanced fire kit is all about having backups and capability. It needs multiple, tough ways to make a spark and multiple types of tinder that will light even when they're wet. Your kit should have at least 3 core components. 1. A high-quality ferrocerium rod, or ferro rod. It works at any temperature, in any weather, and throws a shower of 3,000-degree sparks. 2. Stormproof matches. These are not your kitchen matches. Brands like UCO make matches that will burn for 15 to 20 seconds, even after being dunked in water. They are like a mini blowtorch for starting a fire in a blizzard. 3. Waterproof tinder. This can be cotton balls soaked in petroleum jelly, commercial fire starters, or fat wood shavings. The key is that this tinder has its own fuel and will burn hot enough and long enough to get your bigger kindling lit. The pro tip for your fire kit is to practice with it in bad weather. Don't wait until you're freezing and can't feel your fingers to learn how to strike a ferro rod. Go out in the rain or snow. Try to start a fire with your gloves on. This practice builds confidence and shows you the weak points in your kit. Maybe you need a bigger ferro rod or better tinder. Keep everything in a totally waterproof container, like a small dry box or a heavy-duty bag. Build this kit, practice with it, and you will own the ability to make fire, one of the most powerful survival tools there is. Number 10. The invisible threat within. We've talked about carbon monoxide, but in a sealed-up shelter, it's not the only invisible danger in the air. Our 10th item is another advanced monitor that almost no one has. A portable air quality monitor that measures not just CO, but also CO, 2 carbon dioxide, and VOCs, volatile organic compounds. The problem starts with a basic survival step: sealing your shelter to stay warm. You block drafts and cover windows. You've made a nice, warm pocket of air, but you've also made a sealed box. Every breath you take releases CO2. Cooking fuels and even materials in your home can release VOCs. In a normal house, these gases get diluted and vented out. In your sealed survival space, they start to build up. Elevated CO2 isn't as fast-acting as CO, but it's a sneaky threat. At first, you might just feel drowsy, have a headache, or find it hard to concentrate. As the levels get higher, you can get dizzy, confused, and your decision-making gets worse. In a situation where you need to be sharp to manage your preps and stay safe, breathing air that's making you dull is a huge problem. You could make a critical mistake simply because your brain isn't getting what it needs. A dedicated air quality monitor, like those from TempTop or AirThings, is your canary in the coal mine for all these threats. It gives you real-time data on the health of your indoor air. Seeing the CO2 number creeping up on the display is a clear signal. You need to ventilate. This brings us to the pro tip. Use your monitor to create a purge ventilation schedule. You don't want to leave a window cracked open all the time. That defeats the purpose of sealing the room. Instead, when your monitor shows CO2 levels hitting a certain point, ASHRAE recommends keeping it below 1,000 parts per million. So using 1,500 parts per million as an action point is a reasonable strategy. You deliberately open a door or window on opposite sides of the room for just 3 to 5 minutes. This creates a cross breeze that flushes the stale air out and brings fresh air in. Because it's so quick, you lose very little heat, but you completely reset your air quality. This data-driven approach is way better than guessing. It lets you perfectly balance the need for warmth and the need for fresh air, making sure your shelter is not just warm, but healthy. Number 11. Your last resort, made first-rate. For our last advanced item, we have to talk about something that shelter-in-place preppers hate to think about: having to leave. If your home gets compromised by a fire, a roof collapse from snow, or some other threat, you might be forced out into the storm. That's why the 11th item is a true 4-season, cold-weather survival shelter, like an insulated tent or bivy sack. Here's the problem. Your average family camping tent is a death trap in a winter storm. A normal 3-season tent is made to handle rain and bugs, not high winds and heavy snow. The poles will snap, and the thin fabric offers zero insulation. It's designed to keep you dry, not to keep you alive when it's below zero. Relying on a tent like that isn't a plan. It's an act of desperation. An advanced prepper has a solid plan B. A real 4-season tent from a company like Hilleberg, Exped, or Mountain Hardware is a totally different animal. It's an expedition-grade tool built to handle the harshest places on Earth. The poles are thicker and stronger, often in a dome design that can shed wind and snow. The fabric is tougher and more weather-resistant. And they're usually double-wall tents, which helps manage condensation, a huge problem in the cold, and adds a small insulating layer of air. This is your emergency lifeboat. It's the shelter you can fall back on if your main shelter fails. You could set it up in your own backyard, or it could be the heart of your bug-out plan if you have to leave on foot. It gives you a reliable, defensible space against the elements when you have no other options. And for the ultimate pro tip, a truly advanced setup, look into what's called a hot tent. These are tents, often made of canvas-like material, that are built with a stove jack, a high-temperature port in the wall or roof. This lets you safely run a small, portable wood stove inside the tent. The difference this makes is incredible. It turns your shelter from a cold, miserable hideout into a warm, dry, and comfortable space. You can dry wet clothes, cook meals, and live in relative comfort while a blizzard is raging outside. It's a big investment in gear and skill. You have to learn how to operate a stove safely in a tent. But for those who are serious about winter preparedness, a hot tent is the top of the mountain for mobile cold weather survival. It's a prep that 99.99% of people will never have, but for that tiny fraction, it's the ultimate guarantee of warmth and safety. So there you have it. 11 items that take you from the crowded field of basic preppers and put you in an elite class. A CO detector to guard your air, a water filter for endless drinking water, a solar generator for silent power, a thermal camera to see invisible heat loss, a water heater for hygiene and morale, a satellite messenger to be your voice in the silence, an insulated mat to beat the frozen ground, a power inverter to tap into your car's energy, a stormproof fire kit to guarantee a flame, an air quality monitor to keep your shelter healthy, and a 4-season shelter as your ultimate lifeboat. The one thing all these items have in common is that they solve the next problem, the one that comes up after the obvious one. They force you to think a few steps ahead. Being truly prepared isn't about having a mountain of stuff, it's about having the right tool for the most critical points of failure. It's about seeing the problems that others won't see until it's far too late. Take this information and do something with it. Don't just watch and move on. Pick one of these items and start researching it this week. Add a new layer of resilience to your plan. The time to get ready is now, when it's calm, not when the sky is dark and the wind starts to howl. If you found this guide valuable and you want more advanced strategies that go beyond the basics, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. I've put links to some of the types of gear we talked about in the description below, so you can start your own research. Stay smart, stay prepared, and stay safe.